noon hour is here.
Check it out.
And you're locked on to Utah's highest rated, most listened to sports radio station.
It's my station. It's my station.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, let's get it. Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hope you're all having a tremendous day. Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm doing great. Look at that guy that just went home with the family.
Oh, look at that.
He was out in the parking lot when I was pulling up, so Jake and Ben did a good job getting some families in, and Champ went home with a new young couple. It looked like either a newly wedded couple or maybe 2 or 3 years, and they were driving home with Champ, and that's what we're looking for, man. This is our day of adoption, our 4th year now of the day of adoption. So we've been putting this together for a while. I know we've helped with a lot of adoptions on the day, and we've helped a lot throughout the years. And $12.80. If you come in today, it's $12.80, and you could go home with that new companion, that cat. I just went through and saw the guinea pigs and went and saw they've got a couple of puppies in here, and they've got a couple of long stays. You know, Scotty, every time you've come through, you've seen the long stay guys. Milo is a long stay back there. I'm going to see if they can bring Milo up because I want to take a picture with Milo and see if we can find him a home. He's been here for a while, and these guys sit in these stalls and look up at you like, hey, what do you think? I mean, you think we were fit? Like, I'm cool, you're cool. This Champ that was adopted out, it looks like he's a full-bred pit bull. He looks like he would just be this menacing beast. And I got out of the car and sat down on the curb, and he just came up, and you can just tell. You can feel their heart. They're just full of love. And so, love being here. Grateful that Bonneville and the Zone and Tanya and Nate and Lloyd and you and Ben and Jake and everybody, it allows me to come out and do this. Because, Scotty, you know how much it means to me.
I know. This one hits you deep. This is near and dear to your heart, and this is something that matters to a lot of people. And, you know, I'm not necessarily a big animal guy, but I will say this. Walking through these kennels and seeing these animals and seeing the love that they have and just wanting to partner up with a family and seeing a family take a pet home, man, it's cool to see.
It really is.
It
awesome.
really is cool to see.
I know. It gets me all emotional. But animals have just been such a big part of my life, and I've had so many years of my life where you're like, geez, man, like 7th, 8th grade was so difficult. You know, you got these tough years, and there's so much depression in our country right now. People are going through a lot of different problems and issues, and I'm not saying add to it by bringing a pet. You're not adding to that depression. What you're trying to do is find somebody or something that can help you carry the load, because sometimes the emotional load is just too much. So if you are suffering through some of those things, maybe you just need a boost. Maybe you need a friend, somebody that's there with you.
Someone who will never judge you, doesn't care how much money you make, doesn't care what you look like.
No.
Just wants to love you unconditionally.
Oh, just looking for a good meal. Just want a good meal. Like Gracie is all about, I just want a good meal. Buster, just make sure I'm fed and fat. Like, that's it, you know? And that's what these dogs and these cats and everything else that they've got here. They've got so many different things, bunnies and guinea pigs. So $12.80. Come in and support our day of adoption.
Let's do it. We're down here at the Utah Humane Society. We'll be here until 3 o'clock, but remember, $12.80. That's it. That's your adoption fee. Dogs, cats, rabbits, they all come sprayed, neutered, microchipped. They've got all the age-appropriate vaccinations. So we want you to come on by, hang out with us. Bring the family by, bring the kids by. Check out the animals that are available, and let's have some fun today. We got a busy show, Hans.
Yeah, we do, and I cannot wait to talk to Bill Armstrong. He's such a great guest, and obviously the general manager for the new Utah Hockey Club here in Salt Lake City, and we've got the draft is coming up on Friday, so we'll talk to Bill about that. I know he'll be in a big press conference, but we get an opportunity to pick his brain and what direction he might be heading. and start to really better understand what the NHL draft is all about. This will be our first draft that we're covering.
Oh, yeah.
Scott, I think you and I and a couple of others were kind of heading up the NHL draft coverage, so no better way to get started with that than talking to the general manager of the new hockey club.
Yep. Hans and Scotty, he'll join us at 2:05. David Locke will join us coming up at 1:05. Remember, we have an NBA draft coming up this week as well. Busy week right here on the Zone, so let's get to it.
This is Hans and Scotty G.
Let's go.
The lineup is set, and it's time to kick off the show with the biggest topic of the day. This is the starting lineup on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time for your starting lineup, Hans. Hope you're all having a great day as we look at the NBA draft coming up. There's a lot of opportunities here for the Utah Jazz, trying to figure out exactly what direction they want to go in that first round of the NBA draft. There'll be some options there. Obviously, you wish they were a little higher than what they are right now at 10, but not to say they can't find a player that can alter the trajectory of this franchise.
Well, there's going to be a lot of different options, and this morning I actually went back and looked at the last 10 drafts to try to find a common denominator or a common factor to number 10 and number 29. And the one thing I was able to devise out of the last 10 drafts is there is no common denominator.
No.
There is no determining factor. It is a hit and miss game. Now, number 10 shows to hit more than number 29, but number 10 also shows to miss on occasion. You get to about 2021 with Zaire Williams, and now you're kind of waiting on Johnny Davis or Kaysen Wallace to really push and identify who they are and what they're all about. The same with Ty Washington and Julian Strother, who were number 29 picks in 22 and 23. But I'm going to go through this a little bit. And just to help Jazz fans understand what a number 10 and a number 29 potentially looks like, going back to 2014, Scotty, the number 10 pick was Elfrid Payton. Elfrid Payton ended up playing for 9 seasons. He wrapped up a career, I want to say it was the end of the 22 season. I don't think he played last year.
I don't think so.
But he ended up with 10 points, and I played about 400 games and put together a decent career. Number 29 that year in 2014 was Josh Hustis, and I don't remember ever hearing his name. Not sure if he
I don't know who Hustis is.
I don't know who Hustis is. Not sure what he ended up doing. We go to 2015. Number 10 was Justice Winslow.
Yeah.
He ended up playing 9 seasons. In fact, I think Justice is still going. He's got 8 points, 5 rebounds on a 9-season career average right now. And number 29 was Chris McCullough. So we know that number 10 and number 29, they put it together that year. 2016, you had number 10 was Thon Maker.
Mm-hmm.
Thon Maker, I think, ended up 5 or 6 seasons in the league, 5-point average. As I was going through the number 10 picks, Thon Maker probably kind of the lower end of the number 10s over the last 10 years. But this is where you hit. This was the big one.
Yeah.
2016, number 29, DeJounte Murray.
Yeah.
That's the gold mine. That's the 23-point, 6 assist, 5 rebound, on the court nightmare. He's a do-it-all scorer. He can carry a team when it needs to be carried. He is a big-time threat anywhere on the court. DeJounte Murray he's in my opinion, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll go through these. In my opinion, I think DeJounte Murray over the last 10 years, in accordance to number 10 and number 29 picks, was the best pick of them all.
Could be. Yeah.
I'll go through a few more. Zach Collins was number 10 in 2017. 11.5 rebound guy, still in the league. Derek White.
Interesting.
Number 29. Just helped the Boston Celtics to a championship.
Well, you find a player like that at 29, you'll be happy.
Then you're going to be very happy. So I thought Derek White was up there. Mikal Bridges at number 10 in 2018. He's a 20-point, 5-assist guy. 20-point, 5-rebound guy. You got Cam Reddish at number 10 in 2019. He's a 7-points-a-night guy. Keldon Johnson with the Spurs. He's a 12 and 5. That's a number 29 pick. It's Keldon Johnson in 2019. Jalen Smith in 2020. Malachi Flynn, who I don't know a lot about.
San Diego State guy.
Correct.
Yeah, he's turned into he's had a nice, serviceable career.
You had Zaire Williams is at 21, and then you had Dayron Sharp at 29 in 21. Johnny Davis, number 10 at 22. Ty Washington at number 29 and 22. And then last year's pick, number 10, was Kaysen Wallace, and number 29 was Julian Strother. Those are the names. That's the 20 names from your 10 and 29 picks over the last 10 years. And, Scotty, as you can see, you're hitting about 85% of the time on a number 10 when you're talking about a solid contributor.
Solid contributor. I think that's a good way to put it.
And you're hitting about 25-30% at number 29. And that's my expectations for what the Jazz got in front of them, if they do end up taking those picks and not shopping them out.
Yeah.
By the way, did you listen to Justin Zanuck yesterday?
A little bit, yeah.
Man, I love Zanuck because there's a lot of reasons I love Justin Zanuck. I know how much you love him.
Yeah.
You know him better than I know him.
Great human being, great family man. Has been through hell and back with his family and his own personal stuff. But yeah, as good as a human being as you'll possibly find in a hell of a GM.
Okay, so my favorite thing about Justin, there's no smoke and mirrors with him. No, he's tight-lipped. He's not going to tell you too much. But there's no smoke and mirrors. Like, they were asking him, and he's like, man, yeah, we got a lot of plans. I mean, we've been together now. We know what each other's expecting. I've been doing this a lot of years. Yeah, we've got plans. We talked about this. I don't think that there is a specific drawn-out course because I don't think you can do that.
No.
Because we could see the number 1 shopped in this draft. We could see movement from number 1 to number 5 quickly, easily. We could see picks moved, bodies moved, names change, and then you ball up what you thought was your future, and you throw it in a can. And you know what happens in that moment? You get discouraged. You get off track. You get downtrodden because you thought you had it all figured out.
Yeah.
I don't think you go into this thinking you have it figured out.
No. The best you can do, and I know that this is what the Jazz are going to try to do, is essentially simulate every possible scenario out there. So that if this happens, you react like this. If this happens, you react like this. Now, you can sit there and game plan and scenario and role play to your heart's content, but there usually is some kind of a wrench that gets thrown into things. Your best bet is that you have spent so much time in your preparation that you know how to react to every wrench thrown into the machine. And that's what the Jazz are planning for right now. There's no roadmap. There's no way to really exactly plan what you're going to do on draft night unless you have the number 1 overall pick.
Okay. Now, I do wonder if there's a bit of planning of, okay, we've identified 3 individuals, not in the draft, 3 players we want to go get that will package picks if we can go get. If we can make this trade and try to obtain this individual, do you think that there's quite a bit of that goes on?
I think there's an element of that, yeah, for sure. I think the Jazz have a wish list, and they've got ammunition, and I think that they'll try to attack that in some way, shape, or form. Now, whether or not they can pull that off, I mean, you heard Danny Ainge say in his press conference a while ago where he felt like they were close to a deal in place on a player that would completely remake the outlook of the team. And it fell through. So, again, you can plan, you can hope, you can try to strategize, you can try to do all of these things, but at the end of the day, it takes 2 to tango, you know? You just can't make somebody, unless you're Hans Olsen at a teen dance, go, I want to dance with you, let's go. Now, you would stand in front of a girl like, hey, look, they're playing Lady in Red, let's slow dance. And she'd be like, oh, it's Hans Olsen, yes.
No. No.
You know, so you can try, you can work, you can do all of these things, but at the end of the day, you're still depending on other people to follow through with what you need them to do, you plan, or you hope that they'll do, and if they don't, then you've got to pivot, and that's what you're planning on right now. That's what you're trying to strategize towards.
As far as the Jazz and their potential picks, the name that I've seen the most is Nikola Topic.
Yeah.
I think I've seen him 3 or 4 times in different projections, projected to the Utah Jazz at the number 10 pick. I also saw, is it Johnny Walker?
Johnny Walker, yeah. I see his name pop up.
I've also seen him, but Nikola Topic is one name that I think everybody needs to pay attention to. But the Jazz looking for shooting.
Yeah, and I'd look at the Connect kid from is it Tennessee? Why am I spacing where he's from?
Yes, Tennessee.
Yeah. That's, again, you're looking at, that's why, there's a guy that can come in with some experience and he can shoot the ball. And I think that's what the Jazz are looking for right now, is somebody, if you can't pull off a trade for somebody that can immediately help out your roster, then I think it's okay to go and take a flyer on somebody who is a little older and can come in right away and help you shoot the ball. And I think that's one of the reasons why I would put him on that list. The other player that I think is really intriguing that you brought up, Hans, and again, this goes the complete opposite way, as you mentioned, is the Topic kid who's coming off the knee injury. So there you can kind of stash him a little bit. You don't have to use him right away, and you can allow him to use essentially a redshirt year to try to figure out the league. So you've got two different scenarios. I don't think it's in the middle. I think it's one of those two where you're either stashing a guy in Europe or you're letting him get better off of an injury, or you're drafting a guy that can come in and give you minutes right away and help you with shooting. It's not a let's draft him, put him in the G League, kind of work him into the lineup a little bit and just kind of adjust it that way. I don't think you're looking at that. But, again, what do I know?
I did go back and look at the Nikola Topic situation a little bit more because remember we talked about it and he had the knee injury and it was a partial ACL.
Okay.
Again, I would love to get like Dr. Travis Mack on or one of our great physicians that we have access to and ask them the difference between a full and a partial. I'm sure that the partial isn't as bad because my guess is you might have some cleanup, but you can get that partial to heal and you don't have to have a ACL replacement. That could be wrong, but that would be my guess. So maybe it's not as dire or as bad for Nikola Topic, but for those of you that don't know a lot about him, he's a Serbian player. He's about 6'6". He's got amazing touch, amazing court awareness. He does have a lot of defensive ability because he is a kind of a longer winged guy, and he's got a near 6'7" wingspan, so he can defend.
Wow.
He moves his feet really well, and he's not even 19. I think he turns 19 in like 2 months.
That just blows me away, honestly.
Yeah, he's just a baby.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, he's somebody that you can develop, somebody that you could possibly develop and then move. Yeah, I think he's guys like him. There will never be a surplus.
No.
There will always be a need for a guy like him. And if he can shoot, how nice would it be to get a touch shooter back on this roster?
It'd be nice to have some guy that at least has the threat of that consistent outside shot.
It would be really nice. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm not going to hold my breath, but that's what I'm hoping for. I don't know why. It just feels like it's so difficult to find in the league. You were talking about the Connect kid, the kid out of Tennessee, Dalton Connect, and he's another one. I would love to see him move it at 10. And you're right. I've seen him projected at 10 a few times, and I continue to see him climb the board. He's one of the guys that I've seen climb the board. The other guy I've seen that's really climbed is Tristan De Silva. Now, I know less about De Silva than I know about Topic or Connect, but he's a guy that I've really fallen in love with. If he was around in those lower 20s, it's an absolute take. Yeah, but like if you could move to get him somewhere, I would imagine he goes somewhere in the middle teens, but I do love his game.
Yeah, I need to do a little bit more study on him. I've watched a little bit on him. Really zeroed in on Topic. I think that there's some fun things that the Jazz can work him into the system. when he becomes healthy. I think that certainly Connect is a guy that can help you out right away. The thing, and I go back to what Ryan Smith, and I think he told us this on one of our earlier interviews, where it's like, look, we know that this draft isn't getting a lot of love in terms of its overall talent, but that doesn't mean that there's not guys in the draft that can't be special players. They can't be max players. They can't be perennial all-stars. Like, those guys are going to exist in this draft. It's just a matter of finding them. So, yeah, you'd love to be higher in the draft where you'd have more of a selection of those guys to choose from. But at the end of the day, you're really, really looking for those uncut gems that are going to be in this draft. And if you can hit on them, then you're going to be remembered for what you did in this draft for a long time. I mean, Denver's always going to be remembered for taking a guy in the middle of a Taco Bell commercial that ends up being a multiple MVP.
Yeah.
And that's because they were able to identify what he can do that nobody else really did before. I mean, that guy easily, obviously, would be the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
Had you redrafted that draft.
And I got to imagine everybody's looking for that prototype if they could possibly find it.
Yeah.
A guy that I've seen should be available around that 29 pick if the Jazz are still picking it and aren't shopping it is Kyle Filipowski. The Duke player. I know you know a little bit about him.
Yep.
And he's a guy that gives you incredible length. He can give you some defensive ability. He can space the floor. So he's got some of that ability. But the problem is you'll see these 6'11 guys, they'll come in and phase out. There's something about a Nikola Jokic that's just different. The sustainability, the passability, the versatility, the mindset, the mental construct, everything that he brings to the court, that Kyle Filipowski might have a lot of the physical attributes of a Nikola Jokic. Mm-hmm. Kyle Filipowski might have a lot to give you in shooting and spacing, but there's just something missing when they get there, and then they're out. They phase out.
Yeah.
And you're like, geez, that was a waste.
It's got to be the complete package.
Yeah.
It's got to be what's upstairs and the physical talent. You got to have the talent. You got to have the mindset. You got to have the brain. You have the work ethic. I mean, that's the whole complete package.
Yeah.
And that's what's tough to find because it's pretty easy to bring in a guy in a workout and be like, wow, he shoots the ball really well. Oh, wow, he does this really well. He does this really well. Okay, what happens when it's the fourth quarter and there's 2 minutes left and you're down by 1 and the ball's in his hands?
And the crowd is going insane and right on top of your head. And you're going against a bigger, more physical big.
Yep.
Because how many times have we seen that with Nikola, where the crowd's coming down on him, he's against a more physical big, and he finds a way to manipulate and utilize his teammates to get the win with his intelligence. And it's like in those moments we see too many guys collapse.
Yeah.
So you got to find the guy with that awareness that rises to the occasion and can beat the Rudy Gobert when you got to beat Rudy Gobert.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
3, 2, 1. It's the 10th annual Top 60 and 60. Get your college football fix every day at 1:30 as the Zone counts you down to the start of the 2024 season by listing off the top 60 players in the state of Utah as voted on by the local media and you, the fans. You'll also hear from the coaches as they talk about the players that will impact their season the most. It's the Top 60 and 60, weekdays at 1:30, presented by 5 Star Painting on your home of the best college football coverage in Utah. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. For the latest on the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, and Aggies, we've got you covered. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the Sports Zone.
Verhage works the end boards then, has it in the trapezoid. Rodriguez near side, the power play's over. Shot tip, they score! Rodriguez got it on net. It was tipped out in front, and the Panthers have the first one here in Game 7. 15:33 to go in the first, and the Panthers are on the board. It was Carter Verhage in front getting a stick on it.
Tarasenko slashed it around the boards, only to see that disrupted by Ceci. Beautiful pass, breakaway, shot, score! What a finish! And Edmonton has tied it up brilliantly!
10 seconds left. 2-1 Panthers. A dream 30 years in the making is a reality. The Florida Panthers have won the Stanley Cup. Lord Stanley is coming home. You always will have a place in South Florida.
Oh,
man, I'd be so upset if I was that play-by-play guy.
He's waited how many years to bring a Stanley to Florida, and
it's your moment to shine as a play-by-play guy, and your color analyst is over there just losing his mind.
Again, I'll always echo this. A color analyst is there to explain why. Let the play-by-play tell you what, and then I get to tell you why. What a significant closeout, the energy in those final 30 seconds. They've emptied the goal. They brought in the extra score. They pushed with everything they had. Florida trapped it against the wall and held it for 30 seconds like that. Do that, but screaming in the mic with it, like that kind of emotion, it just does nothing.
No, that doesn't make it sound big. It just makes it sound like you're a buffoon, honestly.
I can't believe it, though. Florida, what an incredible pushback. We were talking about the bleeding that they were suffering and the fact that they're up against the man they call McJesus, McDavid, and he's scoring and he's dominating and he's just destroying people. And Florida finds a way to stop up the bleeding. They find a way to get the initial goal. Edmonton answers, what was it, about 2 minutes later?
Oh, yeah, right back.
And Edmonton is able to answer, and they get it to a 1-1, and they finish out the first period. And I'm thinking, all right, it's about as good as it gets. And Florida scores about 6 minutes into the second, and then that was it. It was sealed up. Edmonton could not find the net at that point.
And boy, did they have opportunities. There were so many opportunities for Edmonton, and they just could not find that back of the net. Whether it was elite goaltending or just missed opportunities, but there were so many opportunities for Edmonton, even when they were down 2-1, to try to tie that thing up, and they just couldn't get it done. And props to Florida, too, because let's be honest here. You are on the cusp. You are on the edge of one of the most complete disasters in sports history. Being up in a championship series 3-0, losing 3 in a row, and if you lose that series, you are the answer of a Trivial Pursuit question for a long, long time.
Oh, is that not the truth? You're the joke of the NHL forever.
Jim Kelly and the Buffalo Bills think you're a joke.
Forever.
Yes.
Like you were that close to being mocked, humiliated, where you went from a potential championship in 3-0 and everybody was excited to being the butt of every NHL joke.
Like, they're not the butt of every joke, but look, you can't tell the story of the Golden State Warriors with all their championships without not also bringing up the fact they were up 3-1 against LeBron and ended up losing 3-0 and losing that series 4-3.
It got broke. Yep. That's the most significant. Well, I've told you, though, that's because that was one of the most single, individual, incredible performance I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So I'll always remember that as LeBron James did that.
Yeah.
And it was the Golden State Warriors that were the butt into that. And that's what Florida nearly was. So I also wanted to give a shout out because I'm sure that there's a ton of controversy going on in Florida and a ton of controversy going on in the NHL. And we're going to talk a lot more about McDavid coming up in the good, bad, and ugly. But you've got a Edmonton team that in consecutive games, I'm gonna go all the way back, Scotty, to Game 3. So Game 3, they scored 3 goals. Now they ended up losing 4-3, but they got 3 goals in the net. Game 4, they ended up with 8. Game 5, they ended up with 5. Game 6, they ended up with 5. So they go 5, 5, 8, and 3. And we were talking about it yesterday. Like Bobrovsky, the egg that he's got on his face as one of the greatest in net that the league knows, and he's letting everything slip by him. And how embarrassing was it going to be for him if he gives up another 5-goal performance and they end up giving up the 4. So we talk about Florida being the butt of a lot of jokes. If he gives up 5 more goals and Edmonton wins, it just makes you wonder, does that break him and his, I think, what is he, 11 years, 12 years in the league?
Might, and you're right. And the fact that he gave up that early goal on the breakaway, it's like, oh, boy.
Yeah.
And then after that, that dude was a stone wall.
Yep. Good for him.
Nothing was getting past him.
I was happy for him.
I was too.
I was happy for Florida. I was happy that Canada now goes to 32 years. A 32-year drought for Lord Stanley in Canada.
So as American hockey fans here in Utah with our own team now, is it something that we're supposed to dislike Canadians? Like, is there this rivalry?
No.
I'm like, are we not supposed to like the Canadians?
I don't like them because they wouldn't let me in. All I wanted was to get a good meal in Toronto.
You just wanted a good Tony Horton's donuts. That's all.
That's all I wanted was some poutine. I just wanted some fries and gravy, bro.
We're just there for the poutine.
Hey? You ruined my party, hoser.
My brother's drunk, eh?
Get lost, eh? That's what they told me at the border. They told me your kind is not welcome here.
In a very non-Canadian friendly way.
Oh, very.
Because
we were searched.
I mean, my wife and I went on a cruise that took us up in like Halifax and Nova Scotia, and the Canadian people are like, there's always a joke how they're super nice. They're really nice, really nice. Until we're in the middle of a pandemic and Hans Olsen tries to storm the borders. Like he's
well, maybe he shouldn't have stormed the borders.
Storm is a little bold.
I was going to say
you're like Napoleon coming out of the
hand
house with the elephants. You're like, we're doing this. Let's go.
Storm's a little bold.
Olsen's, let's go.
I did feel like Clark Griswold in that movie Vacation when they get to the amusement park and they're the only ones there, and he's like, "We're the only ones here." We pulled up to the Canadian border, and I had my mom, all 4 of my kids, my wife, because we were on this big New York church tour of all the different.
Clark didn't come with you, right?
No. Otherwise, we would have gotten into Canada. Hell or high water.
We would have found a way to do it.
We would have got into Canada. And
where's Dad? He's out in the ocean trying to swim around.
He's swimming up the Niagara Falls, just directly upriver through the major lakes to get into Canada. We were detained, and I use the word detained because there were vehicles with lights, cops with guns, and we were pulled across the border. We were detained. We were searched. We were served with papers, which I don't know exactly. I just know this. Canada has every bit of information I've ever had in my life. They took it all. They're like, we need to know everything there is to know about you. I turned into Chunk off of Goonies when I was 3.
And then this one time I was in the theater.
I'd made some fake puke, and I threw it on the crowd, and everybody started throwing up, and I blamed it on my dog. Like I turned into that with these Canadian bounties. Mounties?
Mounties, yeah.
The Canadian Mounties.
You had the bounty on you from the Mounties.
From the Mounties.
Yes.
And I am never welcome back. When I left, they said, and never come back to Woolsworth.
Well, it's going to be a problem, Let's say, we, Bill Armstrong calls up and says, "Hey, Hans, Scotty, I want you to come on this road trip with us." We're like, "All right, let's go. Where are we heading? We going to Buffalo? We going to no, we're going to go to Edmonton." We're like, well, about that. Canada has this do not welcome note on Hans Olsen's file.
I did get word that Canada had asked Greg Wrubell to move on from me as a Canadian.
Yeah, one Canadian to another.
They're saying, as a Canadian, I don't think it's best you work with Hans. It's not. I don't grudge against it. I do think it's pretty comical because Canada does supply the most players in the NHL. The majority of players, or when you're just talking on percentages of what country, Canada has the most players, the highest percentage coming from their country. And they cannot, for the life of them, bring the Stanley back. As hard as they fought and got themselves to a 3-3, and Edmonton was about to do it. Think about that. You got to go back to the 70s. No.
90s.
93. 93 or 94.
Yeah.
The last time the NHL was able to take one back to Canada.
Yep. they've had plenty of opportunities too, but can't seem to get it done.
Oh, let's shut the border.
Oh, boo. All right, Hans and Scotty. I mean, boo, freaking who on Canada. We don't care.
Yeah.
All good. All right, we are live here at the Utah Humane Society, and we just love coming down here to the Humane Society of Utah. But helping make all of this possible is Hercules Credit Union, and Alec Medina hanging out with us. Alec, how you doing?
Doing good.
Hey, we appreciate you helping us out with this. This is awesome.
Of course, we love being a part of this, so it's been great.
Well, let's talk about you being a part of this. What is it that kind of kicked up the feelings and the thoughts for Hercules Credit Union to jump in and get involved with this?
Yeah, well, really the big one is we're huge on being a part of our communities that we're in, and I feel like a lot of people just give a lot of lip service about being in the community, but we really try to get out there, and we've been doing that with the Hercules Hero, and we just felt that this was a very easy follow-up with that. So
yeah, you've heard us talk about the Hercules Hero of the Week, is you can nominate a local sports volunteer, and you guys recognize them as far as helping out here in the Humane Society of Utah, getting these pets adopted. I mean, it's like you said, it's one thing for people to say in their clever marketing ads, we're here for you, blah, blah, blah. But to actually go out and do it is really cool to see.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, Alec, who do you have here with you today? Who's the crew?
So we got everybody. We got Haley, and Haley does a lot of our audio promotions. People definitely heard Haley on the radio. She's our VP of Branch Services, so she makes sure that all the branches are running smooth. And then we got Cammie, who's our head of HR. And we have Spring, who's our operations.
So Cammie's one you don't want to get mad at you.
Exactly.
Okay,
That's why she's here today. So
She can bury you pretty quick, huh?
Exactly.
We always know we've been around the corporate world long enough. Always treat the HR director nice.
Exactly.
Be nice to the HR director because they can get you good if you're not careful.
Have you guys all been out walking dogs?
Oh, everyone's been
Loving
looking.
up on the pets?
Oh yeah. Talks have been happening about taking home a few.
Calling the spouse like, hey.
We do need a Hercules Credit Union mascot.
Yes.
Exactly.
We've been needing a little bit of love around the office.
I think an American bully named Hercules hanging out at one of your corporate branches.
Brilliant.
There was already talks before we even got here, so.
That's awesome. Hercules Credit Union getting involved here at the Humane Society of Utah. You guys are just after my heart. You're after the community's heart. Thanks for all the help, and thanks for the support.
Yeah.
I just, Scotty was bringing up the promotion that we had with the sports figures and sports influencers in our lives and the recognition that we can get. What another amazing promotion you guys have done.
Like I said, just kind of touch on what you said. We've done a lot with the Hercules Hero, and we want to keep pushing that, keep growing that, and so we'll just kind of see where that goes in the future. So.
Hey, you got your buddy Milo over here.
I know. I'm going to get some pictures with Milo and tweet him out. This guy needs to go today. He's got to find a home today. Look at that guy. Milo, what are you doing, buddy? He's got bangs.
Yeah, he does.
He looks a little bit like the owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. just a little bit. A little bit like Davis.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. David Locke at 105. Bill Armstrong, general manager, joins us at 2:05 of the Utah Hockey Club. It's a busy day. Thanks for making us part of it right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is DJ and PK.
Jake Weingarten, owner of StockRisers.com, covering college basketball and the NBA draft. BYU fans want to talk about the 2025 draft. Do the Cougars have two legit lottery picks? How excited should BYU fans be?
Oh, they should be thrilled. Igor, I think, will be a top 10 pick. 6'9", prototypical NBA wing, elite offensive player. And then you look at Cannon Catchings, and he's a hybrid forward. I think he will start the year probably coming off the bench, but they're going to be 8 to 9 deep in a team that's going to win. Regardless if he starts or comes off the bench, he's going to be a 25-minute-a-game player just because he's so skilled and he provides so much. And you put him next to Igor and Hall at point guard and everyone else that they brought in, this team has a legitimate chance to win the conference next year.
Catch DJ and PK mornings from 6 to 10. Presented by Murdoch Chevrolet. Proudly serving Utah since 1926. On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Number one.
Miss any part of the show? Every moment of every show is available in podcast form by searching Hans and Scotty on your favorite podcasting platform or online at KSLSports.com. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, mama said the way you move gonna make you sweat, gonna make you groove.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hope you're all having a great Tuesday. We are. We are at the Humane Society of Utah. And right now, today, you can get a pet adopted for $12.80. Bring home a furry friend and allow yourself to bring a little unconditional love into your home.
Yeah, you need it.
Come on, let's be honest.
Joy.
Does your wife look at you like you're 25 anymore? Probably not. But that pet's going to look at you the same way and love you the same every single day.
You're the most important thing in the world. We just brought Milo out here and got to play with him for a second, and he's 4 years old, and he acts like he's a puppy. He wants to sit on the lap, and he wants to bite and have a little bit of fun, not bite. But,
play bite.
Play bite.
You two were getting after it pretty good.
See, that's the best, just roughhousing with a dog and just absolutely sweet. And Milo's down here. I just tweeted out a picture of Milo, so he's available for adoption, $12.80. Come down and see all the different animals that they've got, guinea pigs, cats, dogs, bunnies, and so much more. And every adoption is $12.80 today. So maybe you can't do it right now. As soon as you're off work, come in and take advantage of the $12.80. And if you can't get in today, come in this weekend. The prices will go back to just normal adoption prices, which are still very, very affordable.
Yeah, yep. Well, Hans, according what you may have missed right here on the Zone, Chicago Bulls insider Casey Johnson says the Utah Jazz are in active trade talks to try to pick up Zach LaVine. He spent the last 7 seasons in Chicago. The Bulls are aggressively trying to move him. I still have a hard time wrapping my brain around that one. I don't think it makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know. That's one where I'll believe it when I see it. Not saying it can't happen, but doesn't seem like a great fit for what the Jazz are trying to build. But, again, it's one thing we know about Danny Ainge is we know nothing about what's going on inside the brain of Danny Ainge.
Yeah, and I don't know. We talked about the chicken or the egg. How you go about this? Do you build the components and then find the ruler, or do you find the ruler and then build the pieces around it?
Yep.
Because Zach LaVine is not the dog.
No.
He is a piece that could potentially help you get to where you need to get. But I wouldn't like to see the Jazz unload really anything for Zach LaVine. It just does not move the meter. I know he's explosive. I know he's an athlete. I know he can get to the lane. I know he can score. And I know he can be a showcase style player. He's entertaining.
Yeah.
But I just don't think he's what the Jazz really need to get to the next level. The other thing I really wanted to mention.
And one more thing, too, before we wrap up on that. When Danny Ainge is going to make a move, I think we'll all be surprised at the move. I don't think this is going to be like, they've been working on this for a while, and then it gets finished. If you're hearing about it, chances are that's not the deal.
Yeah. Yeah, in the past, that certainly has been the case.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to mention, did you see Alanis Morissette?
Yeah.
Opened with the Canadian and American anthems for the NHL Game 7.
Uh-huh.
She's still killing it.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, I've really fallen in love with just the NHL events. Can't wait to see what kind of show they put on with this new Utah Hockey Club.
Well, and that's something that Ryan Smith, I know, takes a lot of pride in, is the production and the excitement value. But just know, in the NHL, the bar is set very high. NBA feels very plasticky. You know, you do the same thing. You try to really ramp it up and have some fun with it. But it seems like in the NHL, it's like, you know what? We're going to throw this jabroni out in the stands, and he's going to sing it, and he's going to shut up midway through, and the fans are going to finish it off.
Yeah, they've got some.
Like the other night, that one in Winnipeg was as cool as anything I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And
in Winnipeg or Edmonton?
Or Edmonton, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I meant. So that is the kind of bar that you set. It's not about heavy production. It's more about organic emotion, raw excitement. it's not just about let's crank up that bass line and really let it rock. It's more about like, hey, this is an emotional vibe here, and let's let those emotions really take over.
I thought Atlantis did it, man. And I thought both sides really reacted to it. And you could tell that Edmonton was able to sneak some tickets out. And they traveled the 6,000 miles to get their butt to that game. And Florida, they drowned them out. They did a good job. Those Florida fans were rabid. But I just couldn't help but envision that in Utah. I just think that in NHL finals in Utah, I know that we are a Jazz state. I know that we have become very ingrained and accustomed to the NBA lifestyle. I just think an NHL postseason run, I think it would take over here in Utah.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, absolutely.
I think it would take over. I think that we've got the potential to become more of an NHL market than an NBA market.
The potential's there. If the Jazz can't turn it around and this NHL team takes off really quickly, yes. But also I might add, and we've had Jim Olsen on the air, we've had Chris Barney on the air, Ryan Smith has alluded to the same thing on the air, is that we are looking at two very distinctly different fan bases. There's not a lot, at least right now, we're not seeing a lot of crossover between Jazz fan and NHL fan.
Yep.
And I'm sure they'll meld together a little bit more.
It was less than 10%. What was it, like 3%, 4%?
I want to say 7-8% somewhere around there. But
yeah, it was less than 10%
of
a crossover.
Hans and Scotty, this is 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.